Speak up, speak out. Let's talk about it. Welcome to the show where you can show your love, no doubt about it. Where self-love and self-worth are the topics of the day. Right here on the Just Blah Show, where love is the only way. And here are your hosts, Barb and Faye.
This is Barb.
And this is Faye, and welcome to Just Blah. And thanks for joining us. Today, Barb and I have been discussing friendship. And the reason it kind of came up is that Barb's been posting lately about friendship and what it is and what it isn't. And it's definitely piqued the curiosity of quite a few people. So with that, we just kind of expand on it a little bit here. And Barb, why don't you go ahead and just kind of talk about your experience this week as far as that meme goes regarding friendships.
Right. So I actually posted it today, which today is Sunday the 10th, and it's about, having friendships and having deep, meaningful friendships, and it's messy, but we still love each other. And when you were talking, I was thinking about like when we were in junior high. I remember the twins, Monique and Monet. You
Yeah,
remember them?
yeah, I
They were our
remember
best
them.
friends,
Yeah.
and those type of friendships, and we fought so hard for those friendships, but in the reality of it, looking back, we fed each other very well. They were very demanding of attention, and I was a people pleaser, and so I fit into that quite well. But my role in our friendship, I should say, and I'm not blaming them. We're junior high age. It's a rough age. I got to be you know the center of their attention seeking activities. And the one the one thing I can remember, and just being mortified, not that they didn't do good things, but I don't know if you remember this, when I got off the bus and they pantsed me. Do you remember that? When I was walking down
Vaguely.
the street
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
Hastur,
vaguely.
I remember at Hastur
Yeah.
Street in Anaheim, and they just walked up behind me because we were like a half a block from our house, and just yanked my pants down in front of the whole
Yeah.
bus, and I was just mortified.
Well,
And
yeah.
they were just there was like 20 or 30 people there because of the bus, and they were
Yeah.
all laughing at me. And I just remember not even turning around and just
Mm.
picking my pants up and just kept walking.
Yeah.
And the weird thing about it, and because I was such a people pleaser and I wanted to be friends, I went home, I cried and sulked about it. And then they said, "We were just joking. Are you okay?" And no, they didn't say, "Are you okay?" But, and I was like, "Oh, that's okay. You can treat me like shit and I'll still be your friend," is
Yeah.
basically what I said. And
That's
so
probably
for
what it worked
me,
out to.
well, and the reason I tell that story is because it is the way I went into all my relationships, into, a young adult, and then into a woman, and where I got to the point where I didn't have any friends because I just didn't trust friendships, because I always seem to have attracted, because of my people pleasing tendency. I'm not blaming other people. I attracted it, I allowed it. I didn't use my voice, right? And I just said, you know what? I don't like this, so I'm just not going to have friends. And I didn't have
Yeah.
friends for a long time because of my experiences with that. But as I evolved and grew and started taking ownership and getting my voice back, I really missed that component of my life. Now, I always had a friendship with you, because you're my twin sister, and but you know what I mean,
Yeah.
outside of our
Yeah.
our
Well,
relative friendship.
I don't ever remember having like a really close friend. I mean, I
Yeah,
know that you were better at making close friends. Like you and Candy were close
right.
friends. I
That's
remember
right.
Candy as well.
Yeah.
But I never really developed a close friendship with anybody in my age group. The people I connected
Right.
to were usually the adults in my life, right?
Right. I
You know,
remember
like
you being close to your drama teacher.
yeah, Mrs. Hall. Yeah,
Yeah.
shout out to Mrs. Hall from Carlsbad, hey. And but anyway, those were the you know, and I think a lot of it was trust and just not trusting people our age and just kind of being um unimpressed
Right.
with
Well,
people
and
in
that's
our
funny
age.
because you looked at it that way, but
Yeah,
I was like, what's wrong with me? Why doesn't anybody like me unless I'm doing for them, right? So
yeah,
I really had to look at that and just really start asking some really deep, reflective questions about, sorry about that, I glitched, about who I am and how I show up, and I realized I had this huge expectation of other people validating my worth in their life in order to feel good with them and not just being present with them. And when
Yeah,
I had that moment and realized, oh, and not only that, you always got somebody, and there's probably a lot of people that want to be my friends, but I was so desperate to have a friend that if I got one, I clung to them and I dumped on them. I mean, it was just like, oh my
yeah,
God, you're listening to me, blah, 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 right?
yeah, yeah,
And it scared them. And I get it because it's a lot to take in and to be a support of somebody that you're just like, man, this person needs therapy, right? And I
yeah.
did.
Well, I think I did that more. I think I kind of fell more into that in my early 20s when I actually ventured out and
Right,
went in the military, started meeting people that, that wasn't in my home environment.
right.
Then that kind of started experiencing, that's where I developed a lot of my people pleasing, at least outwardly. I think
Yeah,
I always did it as a kid inwardly,
sure.
just to get from adults. I wasn't seeking validation from my age group. I was trying to get it from the adults in my world.
Right. And friendships are really unique. So actually, I was thinking about this today and I said, it feels a lot like dating without the sexual component, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I go, but your friendships really, I remember reading this, that your friendships usually outlast any romantic relationship you have normally, right?
yeah,
So it takes a lot of effort to keep that. And I've watched people cycle through friends, and I don't mean that they don't care about them, but where they're just not a
yeah.
part of their lives anymore. It's like a 10-year cycle, it seems like. And that's
Well,
because we
people
grow as
change. Well,
people.
yeah, and people change, and so because I think back on in my early 20s of some friends that I was really close to, but over time, life happens, and you drift in different directions, and you meet different people, and there's nothing
Right.
wrong with that. But
No.
sometimes they circle back through again.
Right.
Um, but
It's really identifying who is with you in those the ones that like I call like I was just telling Faye I call them surface dwelling friends, and that's not to be negative. Those are the people that I go out with, I might go dancing with, I hang out and see them every once in a while, and it's
yeah,
a lot of fun, but I wouldn't share like my deepest, darkest,
yeah,
brightest moments because that isn't the right person to do that with,
yeah,
right? And then you
yeah.
have what I call collaborative friends, where they're people that are like coworkers or you're collaborating on something together. And when you're together, you're connecting and you do, but you really aren't really meshed with them in an emotional sense, except for in that very small
It's
arena of
more
what you're.
business,
Well,
yeah,
it's business, but it isn't. I mean, you care about them
and
as
social.
people
Yeah,
and
business and
social, but
social.
it's not that deep, like, here's my deepest
Yeah,
part of who I am.
yeah,
And then I sat down, I go, and it's taken me 10 years. I look back outside of you to develop two really strong friendships. And with both of those women that are in my life right now, and it's not to say that you don't, it's not all roses and rainbows. I mean, there are moments where we have just did
you
not like each
question it.
other. Yeah, did
Yeah,
not
you
like it. Not,
question it. Yeah.
but the one thing I never questioned with either one of these women was their love for me. Like I knew even if we didn't speak for 6 weeks or 3 months, or yeah, I could think of with both individuals that the longest I think I went was 3 months. And then you finally say, you know what? Yeah, that happened, but it's okay. Let's talk about it. And we cut circle back, what we call circle back around, and just like, do we want to continue this? And that's what
Yeah.
made me think of the dating part. It's really just communication. If you take the sexual part out of it, it's just communication, no matter what relationship it is. And do you have the willingness to have this communication? Are you
Yeah.
have the willingness
Well, they
to
take
hold
work, and
space?
it can't be
Oh
one
yeah,
sided because
no, it can't be.
eventually, and because if it is one sided, eventually, if the other person's making all the effort consistently, they're finally going to get burned out and go, you know what? Person isn't interested in me. They're interested in themselves. They're interested in me being interested in them.
Yeah,
You know what
they're
I mean?
interested in the trade, right? And that's okay. And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong. And that's what I
Yeah.
call a surfacey type of thing.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that it's those relationships are they're challenging. I think race relationships, no matter what level they're at, they're there for you to be a mirror for who you are and to
Yeah.
choose how you want to show up. And there's just because it is if you just kind of let go, and if you're that person that some for me always that person that people would show up and dump on, whatever was
Yeah.
going on. When I stopped reaching out, they just kind of faded away. And it's not because I
kind of
didn't care.
drift away.
Yeah,
Like
and
they
it's not.
say,
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't testing them, but it was just like there isn't really why am I connecting with it? I was questioning what am I getting from this, right? What am I
yeah.
getting from this connection? Do I feel
Well, when
supported?
we talked about this too, is that you teach people on how you want to be treated.
Right.
So that's part of building a friendship. And I think sometimes if you so badly want a friendship, you kind of, it is kind of like dating where you just put, it's like that honeymoon stage
Right.
and, you only want to see the good side. And if a red flag pops up, you don't discuss it or anything because you don't
Right.
want rock the boat type of a thing. And then you can get into a friendship that's not healthy for you. It doesn't,
Yeah.
or it doesn't even have to be a friendship, just
A
a
connection.
relationship in general. Yeah. So, I think just really understand. I think you really have to, like they say, to love someone, you have to be able to love yourself. It's the same thing with the friendship. You have to be your own best friend
Right.
in order to really make really good friends, right? Because
Right.
you don't want to
So
be dependent on another person to validate who you are as a
yeah,
person.
your worthiness or
Yeah.
lovability from another because that needs to come from the inside out. And I said, really, friendship comes down to trusting a person, your yourself and the other person or persons that they're doing the best they can. And is that something that you want to connect with? And you have to validate that for yourself, not from them, and just realize that this is really your choice. And as it is for them, it's free will to stay connected. Am I trading or am I unconditionally loving? And it's just really, and it's hard. It's the truth is simple. Sometimes it's hard to see the reality of the truth because we fall in love with people's potentials. We
Yeah.
remember the amazing, whatever it was that brought you together in the first place. It doesn't mean that it's always going to be there. So we have to be realistic and honest with ourselves and trust who we are and not cling to what we know and be open to the unknown. So you can bring that new, like for me, I was, Faye knows I need to reach out and do things. So I started doing new activities because I'm like, I need to expand to grow because I'm not creating that for myself anymore. I'm staying in my bubble. So I just pushed it out a little bit and got really excited about a few activities I do. But
And you've had some friends because of doing that.
right.
You've had friends that were kind of on the outer circle,
Uh-huh.
that are now, starting to orbit into the
Yes.
closer circle
Right.
because you opened that door and it allowed that
Yeah, I invited them
relationship,
in. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
I got
and relationship to
excited.
grow
Yeah.
back out. So,
Right.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's funny because, you may not see somebody for years and it's almost like you can almost pick up again,
Yeah,
if
yeah. And that's
from where you
exactly what
were.
happened with what
Yeah,
I know what you're referring to.
yeah.
Yeah. And so it does circle back around it. And the thing is not having expectations. Be clear about who you are and what is, I guess, what
And
they
how you
call
want to be treated.
boundaries.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's not controlling the situation and
yeah.
telling somebody they have to be a certain way in order to be a part with you, which is telling somebody who they have to be, and they're just saying this is who I am and I'm
Yeah,
owning it and moving away. That's the difference. It's such a nuance, but it does make a
yeah.
huge difference in the
Sounds like
approach.
unconditional love, but just
It
in friendships.
does, but just in
Yeah, except
friendship.
in friendship. Yeah,
I
so
know. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up
so I
there
guess
because
with
we could
that,
talk about that forever.
yeah, I know,
So,
I know, huh?
yeah, well, we'll see you next week, and we're going to go jump on Facebook right now and talk a little bit more.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Bye.